everybody, my name is Brittney and I have my kids out here with me, and our goal today is to start a fire in the snow and to teach you how we're doing it so that you feel comfortable and confident taking your kids or just yourself outside to make a fire in the snow on your own. Now, we're going to show you different ways that you can make this more challenging or a little bit easier so you can adapt it to either your or your kids, grandkids' age and skill set. So let's get started. One thing that's really important to keep into consideration is the fire triangle. So this is the three sides of the fire triangle are the three things that a fire needs in order for it to actually work. And so that's oxygen, that's fuel, and heat. And so obviously when you're building a fire in the snow, you have great oxygen still, but the heat is harder because it's colder. And also fuel can be a challenge because the snow can be on the fuel and making it wet. So the goal is to find really good materials for your fire. So as you can see, an added challenge is that snow is covering up a lot of our fuel. So we're looking for stuff that's off of the ground. This is a branch that I found, a dead branch that I found, and I can tell it's dead because when I break it off, it's a nice, clean, dry break like that. Also, I like to gather with my gloves off so I can actually feel if this branch is pretty wet. Now, when I look at this stick here, as I'm trying to break it, it's just bending. So this is a plant that's still growing and alive. And so if I were to break this open, there would be a lot of green on the inside showing that there's a lot of moisture and this isn't going to grow well. So we're looking for dead stuff that's off the ground and feels dry to the touch. So when you're gathering the fuel, there's three main size groups that you want to gather. So the first is Tinder, and that is like toothpick diameter or smaller. If you can gather where there's like a prairie area nearby, that's ideal. And so that's what I'm doing here. So I've gone out and gathered some, and I like to actually bend this into like a bird's nest shape. So you can kind of see that here. This is what's going to be at the center of my fire. Now, once I have this bird's nest shape, then I'm actually going to go gather like several more handfuls, because this is good stuff to add to your fire as it may be like dying out, and it gives it a little bit more time to keep adding some bigger stuff. So this is Tinder, the small stuff, Tinder, toothpick diameter or smaller. The next size up is kindling, and I like to think of that from the toothpick size to like straw or pencil diameter. And so you're going to need a good collection of that. I always like to tell the kids like they each need to find 3 handfuls of that size, and then they normally all come back with 1, and that's generally sufficient. So, but always try and gather more than you think you're going to need, because once you get your fire going, you're going to want to keep adding to it to keep it sustained. So we have toothpick, Tinder size. We have kindling, which is like the straw or pencil size. And then the next size up is just called fuel. And I always like to tell my kids, no bigger than your wrist. We're not trying to spend the night out here in the woods. We're just trying to get a fire started to roast marshmallows on. And so I think kids, boys in particular, have a tendency to like drag the biggest log that they can find. But this, we actually really want to focus on the small stuff. So Tinder, kindling, and then just a little bit of fuel, that bigger stuff to keep it going. We are here at our fire site, and even though we haven't started the fire yet, we are almost ready. So we have our bird's nest that we made with our Tinder. We have that in our campfire, but off to the side, we have all of the different sizes. And so one of the best things that I've ever heard about like how to start a fire, how to think about fire starting, is that a fire is like a baby, and you don't feed a baby steak just like you wouldn't feed a fire a really big stick, because it's not ready to eat it yet. So what we have is all these different piles. Like we have a pile of Tinder that we can add for that, and then a little bit thicker sticks. And it keeps going up with all of these different piles that we have, so that when our fire is ready to eat that size of stick, we can put that on, okay? So we're just breaking these sticks up and we're getting ready to go. So here's where you can add some different variables to make it more challenging or to make it easier. So We like to light our fires with matches. I think matches are actually underrated. When I started teaching fire building to kids, I was amazed at how few kids actually know how to start a match. And so even just teaching them how to use a match, this is a great way and great place to do that. So we're going to use matches today. If you want to make it more challenging, you could do magnesium strips, or you could go and use flint and a steel striker and start a fire that way. So you can make it more challenging if you'd like to do that. Some other things that I like to do is I like to bring a pill bottle with a Vaseline dipped in cotton ball. So the cotton ball dipped in Vaseline helps keep the flame going for a little bit longer. And it's just a little bit easier for kids to go from that flame. It keeps it going long enough that they can add things on and keep it going. So I like to use the Vaseline dipped cotton balls. Another fun one that I like to use is lint from the dryer. This is something that's flammable, and it's kind of fun for kids to see that connection as well. Now, I always like to have a plan B, C, D, E, F, whatever it might be. And so I like to bring newspaper just in case we can't get it going with our natural means and we need a little bit of help. And then backup plan is I always bring this tin that has really dry kindling and fuel in it. And so I just got a tin from Goodwill, and I keep this in there just in case it's a really wet, rainy day and we're having a lot of struggles getting that fire going. Sometimes even just that little start can help kids. And you might think, well, that's cheating. But really what it is it's helping them learn what is and isn't working. And it's helping them to feel like at the end, there's still some level of success, especially on a cold, wet, rainy day. You want to get that fire going for them. So we actually decided we're going to use our magnesium strip to start the fire instead of matches. So we have our Vaseline dipped cotton ball right here. And we kind of want to spread that out a little bit so that it has a higher chance of the spark hitting it. Okay, go ahead. And we're going to throw some sparks onto it. Oh, good. That was close. Close. You just got to keep throwing them till one lands. Oh, you're smoking on there. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Okay, so we got it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get some of this fuel that we have, some of this really nice, easy tinder. And what I like to do with those bigger logs is I like to give this fire, obviously the flame is going to grow up. You know, heat rises. And so we want to make sure that we're giving our fire the best chance to catch. And so we're just going to keep putting a mix of our smallest stuff. We're not going to smother it. We're going to let it grow. And then we're going to keep adding that next fuel size up. Now, we consider success when you have a fire that's large enough to cook or burn a marshmallow over. If you want to make it a little bit more challenging, then you could do, if you can boil a cup of water over it, that adds just a little bit of engineering and how you're going to keep that cup of water positioned so it doesn't fall over. But we like to just do marshmallows because it's a yummy treat. And you do have to have a fire going enough to actually roast a marshmallow over it. Well, those are our tips and tricks for how to get a fire started in the snow. We hope that you learned something and that you're encouraged to go out with your family and start a fire for yourself. We would love it if you could comment below some of the things that were helpful to you, or if you have any other tips or tricks that we didn't include that work really well for you. So we hope that you really enjoyed this video, and we can't wait to hear how you had a great time out in the outdoors with your family.